I'm posting a link and telling people to come watch us record.
Are we recording live?
No, but it's a link to the father-son podcasting mic commercial from SNL.
I got concerned. I was like, wait, we're doing this live?
I'm picturing Amy Frost on Twitter right now going, oh, cool, something that's not about the Super Bowl. And then it's like, damn you, Roods! Hello and welcome to the Picture Show with Austin and Phil Rood. I am Phil Rood, the dad.
I'm Austin Rood. I'm the son. Every week we watch a movie and then we talk about it.
We do.
That's the deal.
That's the show.
Yep.
If this is your first week, you haven't missed anything. This is what we do every week.
It's a pretty simple premise.
Yeah. People ask me what's your show about, and it's like it's a movie podcast. Like
that's all you need, really.
I mean, it's like 1,000 other movie podcasts.
But this one stars us, so it's better.
Well, they're all like,
No,
that kind of is it. Like, everything is formulaically the same. You're just selling up your personality and your take on it. I mean, like,
your opinion. Basically,
the people who listen to this show listen to it because they like you. I've heard over and over.
Well,
Austin's got the good takes, so you're selling our show. You're making us stand out.
5 people out there.
That's right.
Who will listen to me for
5 more people than were listening to you yesterday.
That's true. It's just my boyfriend yesterday.
Bringing your total to 6. What have you been up to this week?
Not much. It's a lot of the same old. I feel like we recorded a few days ago.
Well, we did.
No, but it's been a week. And this week has flown by in like 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Been a busy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work and school and
sure.
Doctor Who.
See, Doctor Who. There you go.
That's about it.
Well, that's something.
Yeah. I will say...
Which doctor are you on right now, by the way?
Me and Junior are on the 11th Doctor. That's my boyfriend. And...
Wait, the 11th Doctor is your boyfriend?
I wish. No.
Whoa. This is big news. I have no idea.
Know. Matt Smith, if you're out there, come home, please. No, we're on, that's series 5 out of 12 right now.
Okay. That's
the 11th Doctor, and current is the 13th Doctor in the 13th season, which is being made right now. So there's like a bunch of news about that. It's a new companion.
I'm sure everyone will hate it, and then love it, and then the slightest change, they will hate it again.
I will say... I don't hate this companion yet, but I was a little frustrated when they introduced him because the past few seasons have had too many characters going on, and then they removed 2 of the main cast, and if that wasn't enough, like, we're condensing, we're focusing, it was also going to be the first female-led TARDIS team, because female doctor, female companion. So I was, like, excited for that. That was, like, my idea. And then it was like, and we're introducing this guy, and he's some kind of 50-year-old comedian in the UK.
Diversity. Gross. No, it has to be all men or all women. That's how it works.
No,
all black, all white, all Asian. I don't know. It all has to be one thing, though.
I'm fine with whatever. It was just like my expectation of what was to come.
See, you've fallen into the Star Wars trap again.
It's true.
Yeah. I get it. We all do it.
Yeah.
We all watch movies. I thought 8th grade was going to be about algebra. Nope. Not it at all.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I can't do algebra.
I know. Yeah, would have sucked. I watched, the big thing I watched this week was the Tiger Woods documentary on HBO. HBO Max.
The golfer?
Yeah. I think it speaks to how good the documentary was because I don't play golf. I don't watch golf. I don't follow golf. But to see, and this is where I like having some time pass before things happen. I remember when the Tiger Woods scandal like unfolded, like
where he cheated on his wife.
He had a lot of extramarital stuff, and then he had like a drug thing that came to light. All these things, and really got dragged through tabloids and the sports press and things like that. And with a little bit of distance, I think the sharp edge goes away from that. People see things clearer. Nobody's excusing the things he did, but, you know, kind of examining what led him to this. And look at this. He has some redemption. And, you know, it's a lot of the reason this is a completely different topic and a completely different perspective on it. But things like the 1,000 books that came out in the Trump administration, it's like, let's get a couple years from this and see what the bigger impact of this is.
It's reporting a news story as it happens.
Yeah, in book form, where it's sort of like, we're not even going to know the full impact of this until a few years down the road. Right. Like, then at that point, it is like tabloid press where it's just selling a story without, you know, it's selling the hot story of the day as opposed to like the actual.
And it works.
It does work, yeah. I mean, well, there was big business in dragging Tiger Woods through the mud, but it actually is a decent story about, you know, the way that people can change it without excusing the fact that he, you know, ran around on his wife for years and years and had multiple relationships and just all of these other things. I like something that doesn't excuse the behavior, but allows somebody to be redeemed somewhat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Really, all I know about Tiger Woods is that he's a good golfer and that he cheated.
That's kind of what most people, I think, know about Tiger Woods. But
also, apparently, he has a son that golfs now.
Yeah, I saw some video of like his son also being a great golfer. But yeah,
it's like, aren't they so similar?
Yeah.
He's cheating on his middle school girlfriend.
It's very, let's hope similarities don't go all the way through. But yeah, that's what I watch. HBO makes good documentaries. I've seen a few on there of things that I don't even, you know, follow or am into. They just present a story very well. And
in the theme park one?
The theme park one, yeah. I saw one about Andre the Giant. The pro wrestler, and
right?
That's actually a super great documentary.
Princess Bride guy.
Yeah, he is in the Princess Bride. I mean, that honestly, I didn't watch wrestling growing up, so it was all new stuff to me, but also super interesting. You know.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's like if someone was like, "Oh, The Rock? You mean the guy from
Jumanji?" Or
right? Yeah.
Like yeah. I mean. Yeah, kind of. But The Rock actually
he's a movie star.
Is a movie star, yeah. Like Andre the Giant was a wrestler who did a movie.
That was his only movie?
I think so. Just because they needed a giant and he is was a literal giant. But yeah. Anyway, aside from that, you want to take us through what we watched this week?
Yes.
Was your pick?
Well, I picked the 2018 coming-of-age comedy and drama 8th Grade to watch this week. The movie is about an introverted teenager. She's trying to get through her final week of middle school, and it stars Elsie Fisher, Josh Hamilton, Emily Robinson, and Jake Ryan, and is written and directed by Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham.
Yep, this is his first movie, and it's also Elsie Fisher's first movie.
Cool.
So it's a debut for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see Elsie Fisher, like what she goes on to. Because she's very young, and it's very hard, even a very talented child actor.
Which she is.
I think she's great. It's hard to know, are they going to land in the right roles? Are they going to be offered more good stuff? Are they going to be pigeonholed in this kind of thing?
So far, I only know of she did that Addams Family, the animated movie.
Did she?
Yeah, she played a character in that.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's the only other movie she's done to date. I could be wrong about that, though.
Yeah, I don't know. She reminds me of Haley Steinfeld from True Grit.
Okay.
In that, like, she also, very young, very great performance. And, what she was in that Bumblebee movie.
She was?
Yeah. I have not seen it.
Neither have I.
But she was also in, like, Into the Spider-Verse. She's working and doing some interesting projects, and you just kind of hope, like, stay on that path of being visible and doing interesting movies, because I want to see more of you. And then you have someone like from like 20 years ago, Haley Joel Osment, who was in The Sixth Sense and blew people away with that. I believe he got an Oscar nomination as like a 9-year-old. Seriously, that's really so good. Cool. Did a few other movies, but they kind of did not hang with him. Like, he kind of fell off the map for a while. He's back now. He's working again, but
you need a good agent as well as good talent.
And I think Hollywood stops calling you when you're not a cute little kid anymore. Like they like this thing. Oh, he's a good actor and he's this adorable little kid. And then, like this movie explores the puberty years. They're awkward for everybody, including actors. And I think that they're like, no, you're not like this adorable kid anymore. You're a little bit, and I think that happens to a lot of actors. And I just hope that someone like Elsie Fisher is able to keep getting like good roles that show how good she is and sort of lead her into bigger and bigger things. I don't want to say better things, because this is a great movie on its own. It's not like...
Right, but you don't want to do, like, your best work and then just tap out.
You want to see a good actor have a good career that allows them to continue doing work that is at their level. You know what I mean? That is kind of what I mean.
It's only been 3 years, so, like...
Which surprised me that it's been 3 years. I was just sort of like, wow, didn't this movie just come out? But yeah. I'm not knocking her for not. I didn't look at her IMDb. I didn't even know she was in that Addams Family thing, which,
I don't even know how well that movie did.
I don't know either.
It did look cool. It just came out at a time that I wasn't like...
Yeah, I think it kind of came and nobody really paid attention to it. And it was just sort of a weird thing. And that's very strange, because it's like Oscar Isaac was in that movie. People in a weird nostalgic way, I think, still love the Addams Family as like... You see memes for it.
People in my generation love it.
I think it's an evergreen kind of thing. Not evergreen like it's always in the consciousness, but I feel like my generation grew up with the reruns of the TV show. And then when I was in high school, the movies were made. And I feel like there's an overlap of like me and the next generations. And I feel like a lot of that stuff is carried over. There's like a cult following to the Addams Family.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it did. But I do want to talk about, and you'll speak better to this, to his career as a whole than I will. But this movie turned me around on Bo Burnham.
I love Bo Burnham.
I don't dislike Bo Burnham, but I always thought he was...
fart jokes.
No, not even fart jokes. I thought he was like overrated as a comedian. But I always thought he was interesting. I think he's miscategorized as a comedian. I think he's more of like a performance artist. He's producing a one-man stage show a comedian has a microphone or even with like guitar acts and musical acts. That's one thing. He has a full light show.
He barely does any actual stand-up.
Right. I think he did at the beginning of his career when he was like a YouTube comedian.
Yeah, he did.
And he had like a Comedy Central showcase, and I saw him do stand-up on TV. But I think quickly he went past that and is more of like an actor, like a performance artist. It's more like live theater.
Yeah, he has 2 shows, 2 filmed shows, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's more. And like he is playing a character. He's playing like this arrogant guy, and he even has a song at the end of his first show. I can't remember the name, but it's this song where people come up to him, and it's like pantomimed. It's like these recorded voices,
right?
And they're like, "Oh, hey, I saw your show. Whoa, why aren't you talking? Oh, you're shy? Pff, no, you're not. I've seen your show."
Right. It's
and like talking about how they think they know him, and trying to like pigeonhole
that he became like a big celebrity. Not overnight, but like very quickly and very young. You know, like his whole experience in the adult world is being a big star. Like he played Madison Square Garden when he was like 25. You know what I mean? Like comedians don't do that. You know, like they work their whole lives to play something that big. And he was really thrust into this this really big arena. He reminds me a lot of Steve Martin in the way that like Steve Martin did stand-up comedy for this very, very short time. Mm-hmm. Like everybody remembers him as this great stand-up, and he was. But at a certain point, he was just done with it, and he went on to make movies. And he actually wrote a book about his stand-up career where he was just like, yeah, I had said everything that I had to say as a stand-up. And Bo Burnham kind of strikes me as that, because I think when this movie came out, I heard him on Mark Maron's podcast. And that's kind of essentially what he said. He was like, I've done all these big things. This is where I want to move this way now.
Right. He kind of he rose to fame like right at like the birth of YouTube and the internet.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a right place, right time. But he is really talented.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like I don't appreciate him as a talent.
You don't sound like that.
I think he's less of a comedian and more of a performer, and I think this really solidifies. I've always thought he was interesting. I didn't always think he was like the funniest comedian, but I've always thought he was interesting. And this movie shows like, yes, he is interesting and he has an interesting worldview, and he's smart enough to present it in this really well written, really interestingly directed,
really grounded,
really very grounded movie. A very accurate look at adolescence that a lot of adults are not able to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of like John Hughes made movies about teenagers in the 80s. The Breakfast Club, I'm
16 Candles.
16 Candles. Yes, all of these things.
But they're not the most accurate.
They're not. I'd say The Breakfast Club is very good at a broad strokes view of cliques in high school.
Yes.
This really gets down to this minutia about how hard it is to be a teenager and how hard that is on everybody around. Not even teenager, is that like a tween? Like a kind of, you know, she's 13, 14, but just this age group of middle school. You're in middle. Like it's they say it in the movie.
Worst years of your life.
They say it in the movie. It's the middle. You know, in her last video, she's like, it's the middle part. You're not anything. You're just sort of in between. Mm-hmm. And it's hard on her dad. It's hard on the teachers who are bored and just trying to get through this. It's hard on everybody around these kids. And I think he nails it with this movie.
Yeah, I think every character adds to that. Like there's of course our main character, but then there's like the I don't even care kid.
Right.
And the I really care popular girl. And then all the adults that are like either talking to them like adults or talking to them like children.
Right.
And it's like they're neither. Like
Right.
you can't just throw a meme reference or have them walk through a high school with their hands on in like a conga line.
Right. Yeah. Like a little kid holding
Right,
hands.
Like, hold on to
chain.
the rope now.
Right. Yeah,
like
yes. But also like that is, I think, zeroing in on the problem with trying to talk to these kids is you don't know. Like some kids would respond to holding each other's shoulders walking through. That is the best way to handle some of these kids. Mm-hmm. And some of these kids you can talk to like adults, but not, there's no way to talk to all of them in one way. There's no way to address that group.
Everyone develops at like a different, what's it called? Like scale.
At a different pace. You're at a different, everybody's at a different point at the end of middle school. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think,
and even high school, I would say.
I think for a good part of high school, and I think this movie like really addresses a lot of that. Kayla has this idea of where she's supposed to be, but she's kind of coming to terms with the fact that she's not there. Like,
right.
She wants to hang out with these high school boys, this high school group,
right? With
these high school boys, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm not. This is moving too fast, and that's not fair. That's putting it on her. It's not that it's moving too fast. It's that she's not ready for this world because it's full of dangerous people, right? Like it's and she was completely unprepared for.
It's about expectations. Like I think the best they illustrate it so well with that time capsule of like it's showing like, okay, here's what she thought middle school would be like.
Yes.
And she's realizing that, and then at the end, here's her resetting herself and being like, okay, I'm not going to put pressure on high school me.
Yes.
I'm just going to do it however I want to do it and see where I end up.
Right. Her going into middle school, her 6th grade self is saying, hey, you've probably got this. You probably got this. And isn't that great? And her talking to her senior self is like, do you have a boyfriend? If not, that's cool. If so, I hope he treats,
right.
How was your SAT? Not like, I know you scored great on the SAT. Like
she's not being naive and setting these expectations that now she realizes are like so high. Like, I feel like maybe that's the wrong word, but it's like.
It's that she was setting an expectation based on assumptions, and now she's going into high school not making assumptions of what high school would be. I feel like she's more open to, hey, let's see what happens, and let's see if I can encourage my future self without putting baggage on her. Yeah. Make her not want to burn this time capsule in 4 years. The very last line of that, I think, is just so sweet when she goes, I can't wait to be you. Like, it's this, I mean, it's the one expectation she puts on herself is whatever my future me is will be fine.
It's really sweet.
It's super sweet, and I love that. I love that last video she makes to herself. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and jump deeper in.
We like slid right into like already getting into like the deep.
Analysis. Yeah. I wanted to hit a couple of those things first, but
I get it.
Yeah, let's come back with that.
All right, Gucci.
And we are back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. How was your break?
It was a little in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a bad joke.
I was gonna...
Moving on.
You should have said, I went to archery camp.
Well, if you want to script these...
Did you even watch this movie?
I did.
How many times have you seen this movie?
I think this is... I don't remember if it's the second or third
time. This is the third time I've seen this movie. I think I watched it with you, and then we showed Mom, and then we watched it again today. Like, I know I've seen this at least 3 times.
While watching it, I realized how ingrained it is, kind of like...
What do you mean?
Like, I know what's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, even though it's been a while since I've watched it, but, I don't know, like, the scenes, they're kind of slow, and they're kind of, you get involved in them, and then it sticks with you.
They are a little... I don't want to say slow, because that implies boring. And this movie isn't boring. Mm-hmm. It just... it's very deliberately paced. You know what I mean?
It feels like you're living it.
Bo Burnham is taking his time in the way he films these scenes and puts them together. And everybody is just going through the pace of it. It's the minutia of everyday life. But just put in the hellish landscape that is an American middle school. Like the scene with her dad where she wants to be on her phone.
So infuriating.
It is infuriating. And I think that also like sort of illustrates how difficult it is for her dad. I feel really bad for her dad through a lot of this because he really is trying.
He wants to help, but he doesn't know how.
And even when he goes over the line and spies on her at the mall, like, he doesn't mean to be inappropriate and cross that boundary. And he really, I think, just wants to see his daughter having fun because he so rarely sees it. And I know that feeling, but it is also like
What are you saying, Dad? No, I know.
I never followed you guys around, but I get the feeling of like you want to see them interacting and having a good time.
And he knows he's crossed a line when he like sees her reaction.
When she sees him, yeah. And you know that he knows it's wrong when he's doing it.
Right.
Like, he's not... But we also see in the rest of this movie, he gives her all this space. Like, he understands the thing you have to do with middle school kids.
Even when it hurts him.
It's like, okay, be on your phone. You know, like...
Right.
Like,
it's Friday, you can do what you want.
You can do it. You know, they've come to this compromise. And, you know, he still is trying to connect with his daughter. And it is just one of those realities that connecting with your middle school age kid is really difficult.
It's... I'm sorry.
No. I'm not laying a guilt trip on you.
But I did look at, like, I've done some of this.
We all did. Like, there weren't phones, but we all... The reason it's so important to kids to have their own bedroom in the house, if at all possible, is because every kid wants their own space. Away from siblings, away from parents, away from, you know, like... It is, we see these levels of Kayla through this movie. You see her at school and around her school friends. She's very quiet. And then you see her at home with her dad. And then you see her in her room. And you see a little more of the real Kayla. The further in, it's like shedding.
Well, she even says like, oh, the weekend me. Oh, like getting to know the real you.
Right. Let's talk about those videos where she talks about other kids, but she's really talking about herself.
Right.
I have a question that you're probably going to think this is a really dumb question.
What's the question?
The scene where she sings karaoke, did that really happen, or is that her imagination of what she wishes would happen?
I had that thought too.
I've seen this movie, like I said, 3 times, and I still can't tell.
I think it's real. I think it's kind of like that's the big step in her realizing she needs to follow her own advice.
That's her kicking off when she's making a list of like how to make friends and be more outgoing.
And it goes well, and that's the spark. And like, if that had gone horribly, if they had laughed or something, like it would have gone a very different route, I think.
But it's just it's a little ambiguous, and I don't think it's a fail. I like that it's a little ambiguous, where you go, it seems a little like a dream because, like, everybody's, like, watching her.
Right.
But that also is what it feels like if you take a microphone in front of a group of people and everyone's like, ooh, how's this going to go?
Yeah, I don't know.
I like the scene a lot regardless, because it is a huge shift for her, whether it's it's either really sad where she is realizing I want to be this, but I can't right now, or it's really triumphant where she's like, yes, I will raise my hand. I will take that microphone. I like the scene either way.
And I like that we don't get to hear her sing.
Yes.
I think either way that would be not the point.
There's a movie called Lost in Translation that the very end of it, one of the characters says something to the other one. It's about this weird friendship. It's a kind of pretentious art house movie, but I like it. And it's never said. It's the same as like the box in Castaway that Tom Hanks carries around. And,
right.
And everyone's like, what is it? What is it? What did she say to him? What's in the box that Tom Hanks? And it's like, none of that is important. Like, it's better to just imagine what it might be. It's better to imagine her singing.
People just fixate on what they can't see or don't know.
I think it's a great move to have her do karaoke while her voiceover is going and while the other music is going, and not hear her. Just because, there's always someone who will look at that and go, there's no way they wouldn't have made fun of her because she didn't sing, or there's no way she sings that good, or something. You know what I mean? Like you're going to nitpick the scene and miss what it's really about, which,
Right. Well, if you look at this scene where she's in the band, so she clearly has music experience, which means that...
I want to talk about the band, too.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that's I think what the genius of, like, Bo Burnham is in this movie is him putting that scene in here where it seems like just this throwaway scene. And kind of funny, because let's all laugh at how bad a junior high band is. But also it's like, Kayla plays the cymbals. The most blatantly loud, like there's no subtlety to crashing cymbals.
And she looks uncomfortable doing it.
She looks so uncomfortable. She's trying to play them quietly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think that is such a brilliant way to characterize, here's Kayla and here's who she is, but she's also trying to be this. She's trying to she knows she's supposed to be outgoing. So she tries all this stuff that isn't her. She goes and tries to be like sexual with the kid she has a crush on.
Right.
And it's, this is something, again, Bo Burnham, great job, portraying sexuality in kids who don't understand what sexuality is. This could have been really uncomfortable and really inappropriate, and he actually, like...
It's so accurate,
he portrays it as everybody has sexual feelings, and they don't know what any of this stuff means.
Right.
Like, they're too young to really interpret it.
The kid masturbating in class. I don't know if the times have changed, but... No one I know of doesn't have a story of that. That happened at my school.
Wow.
That happened at my friends' schools.
Wow. That is...
It's a weird thing.
That is a weird thing. But, just everything about, like, the symbols, and I've never picked it up before. It really, like, clobbered me over the head. I could be projecting, but it seems like it's this real subtle, like, character moment for Kayla. That
does sound right. I just saw it as another, like, slice of life. Like, this is middle school.
Well, I think that's what's so great about this movie is everything serves double duty. Like, it is a slice of life, but also let's put a little character moment in there. Like, it's, and I think that's, again, tip of the hat to Bo Burnham, who I did not pay much attention to as a comedian, but I think he really has some interesting things to say. And he's someone else I hope makes more movies. And
Right.
is actually more active in film, because I would be really interested to see what else he does.
I was really disappointed when he announced that he was done with stand-up, and then this movie came out, and I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
This.
Or release an album, or start painting, whatever.
Something, yeah, some kind of expression. I think he does. He's going to do it in an interesting way.
Right. And this movie is personal, but it's something that I feel like everyone can relate to. Like I've watched a lot of like behind the scenes and interviews because I like Bo Burnham.
Sure.
And he said in one interview that he wrote Kayla as a girl because he didn't want to like put his biases and like something about the gender change that made it more like universal.
Okay.
Like he can focus on what's something everyone can relate to rather than this is a story that boys can relate to.
Right. Like we've heard every hack comedian talk about getting a boner in the middle of class. You know, it's just like, yeah. Okay, that's good for like half the audience who understand. Like, well, let's see a movie about with that joke like shoehorned in there because that's the male perspective on like. No, that's really interesting that it almost just landed in the middle where
this movie also doesn't have an embarrassing random period scene or anything like, because that's not something Bo Burnham knows how to write.
Right. There's nothing that's too specific to either one outside of like the car scene.
The male gaze.
The uncomfortable and the uncomfortableness of that scene that is specific to females, but the way it's portrayed, like everybody feels that. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's like to be in the backseat with a sexual predator, but you feel her awkwardness. You feel her trying not to break.
It's
at the
so
same time that she knows this is terrible and she's trying to stop it with as little friction as possible.
Right.
Because it's right on the edge. She doesn't know if it's going to get violent. She doesn't know if it's, you know, and it's a super dark scene in the middle of this movie.
I really forget that this is a middle schooler acting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you even go about that. That just sounds...
It's a super weird... It seems out of place in the rest of this movie.
That's what, the first time we watched this, because we talked about it for a long time, just not recording, which we used to do, guys,
That's
by the way.
how this whole thing started, yeah.
And I said, oh, it's his first movie. This is like his obligatory dark scene, sexual assault, but like...
Right.
But you pointed out that it does have meaning to the story.
No, yeah, I think it's all about her realizing, like, I'm trying to rush into high school because middle school is such a nightmare. And it's the point where she realizes, like, oh, this is a completely different playing field.
Right.
With completely different rules. This isn't the creepy kid trying to pretend that, you know, oh, send me naked pictures and you know, trying to be a player. These are real, like, predatory people. These are adults essentially to
just
her.
Horrifying.
So it does play in there. And yes, the time that this came out, it's on the heels of Me Too. It's when a lot of people are putting scenes like this, trying to be relevant to the movement that's going on. And again, it's like the diversity checklist. It's like, you don't really mean this. You're just putting it in there because it's a hot topic of the day. But this, I think, really, it's a scene that isn't like any other scene in this movie, but it somehow fits the story that's being told.
I think Bo Burnham like, he does understand, like, this severity. Like, this, it's so
Yeah.
nuanced.
No, I don't think
Like-
he's at all trying to capitalize on anything. I think
to the point where, like, almost what's worse than, like, the car scene is, like, after, when he's driving her home and, like, manipulating her to be guilty about
the
it.
whole, like, that's like, I don't
it's
like...
so much worse, in my opinion.
I don't like the term gaslighting because I think it gets used wrong all the time. Like, it gets used when people, when they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so cheated on his wife and gaslighted her. It's like, no, he lied to her. Like, it's a different thing. It's a different thing.
The new thing is calling someone a narcissist.
Yes.
It's like,
everyone...
No,
yes.
He's just selfish. He's
Right.
not necessarily, like, that is an actual disorder.
An actual, narcissism.
Yeah.
But no, what he does to her is actual, like, gaslighting. He's like, you know, you're being a child. I'm trying to help you. To the point where he gets her to say, please don't tell, I don't remember what Olivia.
Maddie, Olivia.
Please don't tell Olivia about this. Like, she did something wrong.
Right.
And you're right. That is like, what you see in the backseat of the car is super uncomfortable. And then when she drives home and he puts it on her and she takes it, you know, and like, that is, that's tough to watch. And then, you know, her going home and crying and her dad not knowing, like, that's a scary moment as a dad too.
I can't imagine what he could have.
What happened? Did the worst happen? You know, like, and it's it's a pretty intense sequence, actually. The first time I watched this, I was not ready for that. I hadn't heard anything about this movie when I watched it the first time.
I had heard a bunch of stuff. I had not heard anything about that scene.
No,
so
I mean, I had heard it's good. Like, and I had heard the interview with Bo Burnham on Marin show, like I said. The other thing I heard on that interview that I thought was really good was that as a writer-director, he was still, like, working with kids and is, like, a 20-something. He was, like, the oldest guy on set.
Right.
To where... And I really like this, that he wasn't, like, so precious that he didn't take input. He had these kids were telling him, like in his script, I think they were using, like, Facebook Messenger. And these kids were having to say, like, no, we don't use Facebook.
No one uses Facebook.
That's you guys. That's an adult thing. And he's like, okay, what do you use? And they're like, Snapchat, Instagram. Like, it was... And he took that, and I think it even made it into the movie when Kennedy's mom is like, oh, she'll invite you over Facebook. And she goes, no one uses Facebook, Mom. But I really...
Bo Burnham laughing at himself.
You hear about, I think a lot of times, especially like writer-directors who are like super, this is my project, and they're super precious about it, and they won't take input from anybody. It's so good to hear that, like, he worked with his actors and made the movie better. Like, it's so good.
That brings me to the topic of, is this, like, gonna be a dated movie? Because it's very, kids change so fast, and it's like, there's no TikTok in this movie. There's no current memes. It's all like dabbing and Szechuan sauce, and it's like, those things aren't universal to all 8th graders.
No, it's not. But that's not what dates a movie either. I mean, we watched 12 Angry Men, where they sit in a room in a public building that doesn't have air conditioning. Like, technology moves. But the theme of the movie, I think middle schoolers will always be awkward and feeling terrible about being middle schoolers and not knowing where they fit in, feeling like this is the worst thing. I can't wait to get out of here. Oh my God, the next year. Oh my God, I'm not ready for this. The Breakfast Club takes place squarely in the 80s. People still watch The Breakfast Club because it's themes about where you fit in high school and what does that mean in the bigger picture of your life, that hasn't changed.
Right. The message of this movie is going to stay. I do think it relies heavily on the technology, though. Like, it is a driving force of the plot, sort of.
It is, but also there are movies where a landline telephone relies heavily on the plot. You know what I mean? But it's not the theme of the movie. I think
right. I'm not saying it as a bad thing. It popped out at me.
Sure, it's going to be a movie that takes place in the time it was made in. And as long as people always view it that way, like, oh, this is a movie that takes place in 2017 because that's when it came out and it was modern for the time. But will you show your kids this movie?
Probably.
And will you think
at a certain age, yeah.
Will you think they will appreciate it, or will they be like, this is dumb because Instagram, was that a real thing? Like,
it's not even holographic, Dad.
I mean, it's not like those, like those horror movies where like, oh my God, ghost messages are coming from a fax machine and it's all built on fax technology.
Right.
Where the shit is like, by the time the movie actually comes out, the technology's already out of date. It's based on such like fad tech. Mm-hmm. This movie is about so much more than Instagram. Instagram is kind of a setting. It's just a messaging platform.
Right.
and YouTube and all of the other.
I even had the thought as we were watching this that like, because this movie was inspired by Bo Burnham finding like kids YouTube, like not YouTube for kids, but like these obscure like the main character,
right?
Like Kayla, who will just like record whatever.
She's doing a video blog for like 5 people, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen that on TikTok. Like there are a bunch of people who essentially have no audience, but they post like these vlogs, and I was just thinking like, it's the same thing, just a different platform. Just
right. Yeah. And to speak to that, I think that's the other great thing about Kayla is that they made this character who has a YouTube channel that nobody sees. Mm-hmm. And that it's sort of like her form of expression. And I feel like when she posts something on Instagram, they show her like she's a little nervous when she posts something.
Right.
But when she posts something on YouTube, she stumbles on her words. But she's outgoing and she speaks like with authority and confidence. She does her Gucci. She got a little catchphrase. She got all this stuff that a popular girl would have, and she kind of knows she's safe, like nobody's gonna see this.
Right.
And I feel like she feels free to do this.
It's her playing a part.
Right. And not feeling judged about it.
Right.
I like that. I didn't know that he based it on just finding YouTube videos, because that's like seeing a person at an airport, just a random person, and going, I wonder what that person's story is, what that person's like life is.
How many airports have they been to?
Every blog that no one reads, every Twitter with no followers, everything, there's a real person behind that who lives a full life in some way.
Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I like realize, oh, this person exists.
This is a real person, right?
And I think that's fascinating just.
Yes, and I think it's something that is easily lost when we get into the metrics of like, how many followers do I have? How many like this is what we're putting our
how many listeners does our podcast have?
Exactly. All of these things is sort of like we're taking our value from something, and it's like it's easy to lose that real people are behind these things that have very low listenership or whatever, like us.
Right. I actually saw a really cool trend where it was people on TikTok, they were like looking up on Google Images like what 105 people looks like, because that's their follower count, and it's like, oh wow, you guys could fill like a classroom or something.
Oh.
Like this like this
Like
is
how
a
much
lot
space?
of people.
How much space people take up?
Right, yeah. Just to be aware of like, oh, this number seems small in comparison to like 5 million that this one famous person has, but it's
Sure.
like this is a lot of people that have decided that they're gonna follow you and look at what you're posting and keep up with you.
Right. And I think that's a thing to remember as people who have kind of modest listenership or viewers. You know, I don't have a lot of followers on. I've been on Instagram. I've been on Twitter for 15 years, and I just have. But it is sort of like, oh, someone bothered to follow me. Like, you know, someone bothers to look at my artwork. Someone bothers to listen to our podcast. Like, that's not nothing. You know, when you start going, I don't have enough followers, you start to disregard the people who are paying attention to you.
Right.
And we're way off. We're not even talking about 8th grade anymore.
We're not way off topic, though. I feel like it is kind of...
But it is... yeah, those few people, they do recognize, like, oh, this is a person here, and this person makes content, and I listen to this every... You know.
Right.
I don't... one of our listeners listens to us when she goes grocery shopping every week. She's like, she's
don't
like,
forget milk.
Yeah, Mexican Cokes on the ethnic food aisle, Amy. Not in the soda aisle. Don't forget.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool, and you know, I feel like, but I feel like what Kayla is doing in this is sort of, it's a safe place for her to be who she wants to be without judgment, or to know that people who do watch me don't know me in real life. They don't know how quiet I am, and they're here because they enjoy this character that I'm playing.
She even like freaks out a bit at the end when her new friend
when Gabe says I saw some of your videos,
and she's like suddenly is worried when like you've never seen that side of her before,
and he's like super complimentary, like you have good advice, and she does, like her. That's I think what is partly so painful about parts of this movie is like she does have advice about being outgoing and trying and going out of her comfort zone and things like that, but she's not even following it. She's too afraid to follow her own advice.
Well, that's anxiety,
right?
It's not a logical feeling. It's like, it's even worse when you know here's what to do and you aren't doing it.
I do have, you said anxiety, and it brought me to this note I had in here, because the other element, we're still on the tech of this as well. This issue does get brought up, and it gets brought up, unfortunately, by like one of the douchiest characters. It gets brought up like when they're in the mall and they're talking about, when'd you have Snapchat? That bro who's like just in her face about it. But the idea of being raised online is really present in this movie. Like you said, Instagram is so much in this movie, and Snapchat and things like that. And there's so much anxiety that comes with being on social media all the time. And how do I measure up against all of the...
Right.
So you have the regular anxiety of being in middle school. And then this is this isn't really spoken in the movie, but this was a big takeaway with me. Is a 45-year-old, when I take a break from social media, I feel relief. Like, that anxiety is real. That constant, like, sensory overload, all of this stuff, it's a real thing. And then in the anxiety of middle school that Kayla probably feels at a baseline level, you know, it's piled on top of that. And I think there is a little something. I don't think he's making some anti-social media statement on here, but I think there is kind of an unspoken thing in this movie about like, this isn't helping.
It's recognizing the flaws. I
Right.
mean, Bo Burnham isn't going to be like F social media. That's how he got started.
Right.
But he does recognize, like, that guy is right. They are wired differently.
Yes.
We are.
Just
I'm included in that.
Just a few years difference makes a big difference in how you're raised. He's like, you were seeing dick pics and it's like, it's not about dick pics. It's about but
there's this weird thing where like a bunch of toddlers now have tablets.
Right.
I've seen people of my generation calling them like tablet kids, and it's like a joke about how they're gross, and like if you ever try to touch their tablet they growl at you, and like
they're feral children.
Right, but it's like there are kids who legitimately are being raised on technology in an unhealthy way.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to like judge parents here, but I think it is a problem when a kid has unlimited access to things.
Well, I don't think it's a value judgment on the technology, and I don't think Bo Burnham's saying that. I'm not saying that either. The technology is here. It's not going away. I mean, it's
right.
I'm sure when TV came into people's homes,
it's rotting your brains.
I heard that all the time. My grandma would come over and go, 6 feet. You have to be 6 feet from the TV. I'm like, wait, what? And she would mean it. Like, It's dangerous to sit closer than 6 feet. Like, it's rotting your brain. It's making you stupider.
And she was right.
She's absolutely right. But yeah, and I don't think this movie's making a value judgment on that, but it is saying like we are compounding anxieties here, and we are all having to kind of navigate that in our own way. And I think that's part of what Kayla's story is navigating her way through real life, through her online life, and the places where they overlap, you know. And I think go ahead.
It's kind of like you have more people watching you. It's like when you're in
Right.
middle school, it's like, all right, you have this set number, and it's a lot, and it's a lot of pressure. And you have the people watching you and the people at the top who you can look up to. And then the internet just heightens it, and you have unlimited...
Yeah, people from all over the world can watch you.
Right.
Yeah. And, is that good? Is that bad? A little of both, maybe.
Right.
It's all in there, and I don't know, there's a lot of, I think, complicated things, and I think, I think he's not necessarily making a judgment on any of them. And not in, like, the cop-out way of, like, gallery artists who are like, you decide what the painting is about. I think he's just sort of saying these are issues, and let's walk through them. I think there's some kind of symbolism with her cracked phone screen. It ends up hurting her, like physically hurting her at one point. And
because she's an unreliable narrator when she's online.
Yeah.
She's created this fake persona.
Yeah, that's true.
That's hurting her. Which, I mean, the persona is good. That's who, like, being confident, and that's who she is at the end of the movie.
Right.
But, like, her pretending she's already there when she's not is hurting her.
And also, I think that bleeds into her outside world when she's making a list of, like, talk to people more. All good advice. But in the same way that I said, like, when she goes into her house, she sheds that. And then when she goes into her room, you get a little more to the core of who she is. And it is a different person. So she's kind of, and it's not a judgment against her, because I think it's just a reflection of something we all do. We all are different people when we go out into our workplaces or schools or whatever, because you can't be a hermit who just growls at people like you do, you are when you.
Everyone, like code switching, isn't that what it's called when you when you change the way you talk and act to different people. Like...
I don't know what it's called. I know the term masking,
right?
Which is like just trying to kind of fit in. That's used in like autism conversation a lot,
but also ADHD and anxiety. I think, and just in general, people.
Yeah,
mask.
people on the spectrum and around the spectrum get real mad when people who aren't on the spectrum say, "Yeah, I do that too." But it is like, no, realistically, we all do that to some extent. We maybe don't have to.
It's harder for some people.
Absolutely, but I think everybody has their work persona. You know what I mean? Right. And all of these other things. So, and I think we see that with Kayla. The other part of her performance that I think is great is that no matter how confident she tries to be, it always is given away by the way Elsie Fisher walks.
Oh,
her
it's
walk,
so embarrassing.
her hunched over walk, this don't notice me, trying to
it makes it very noticeable.
Be smaller and the very quick steps. I think is so she is so good at just this hurried walk of hopeful invisibility that she does through her school.
Right. Oh, it's so at the pool scene. It's
oh my God, yes.
I just want to turn it off.
So imagine going to a pool party. Like pool parties got to be the worst for middle school girls with body issues. Like, yeah,
right. I didn't like taking my shirt off in the pool, and I'm not.
But yeah. The only time she breaks out of like the low self-esteem walk is when she tries to talk to Kennedy and her friend. She gives her the letter.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that.
Because she does like the little finger guns. Well, catch you later. She's trying to be like the cool, but she doesn't know how to be cool at the same time. And it's just,
well, I like that, about her at the end. Like, this is, in a nutshell, a transformation story. Like, her becoming more confident. Right. But she's not becoming a different person. Like, in that scene, she is trying to be a different person. In the scene where she tells Kennedy off, she does it in a kind of awkward and weird way where she's stumbling over words and like she leaves mid-sentence because she's like, all right, I'm done. Right. But like she did it and it was important to her and powerful.
Right.
But she wasn't a different person doing it.
And the scene right before that with her when she burns the time capsule and she talks to her dad and she finally has like a heart-to-heart with her dad. And she stops, like, keeping him at an arm's distance. She stops being mad at him for just being her dad. And she hugs him. Like, she actually kind of breaks down all the barriers she's put up. And actually, learns a little bit about herself, because her dad tells her. And lets herself, be his daughter.
Right. I love that scene so much.
It's really good. It's one of those.
It's basically like she has been avoiding like what her main problem is, and she finally just let it out, and finally he was able to address how ridiculous that is.
Well, her main problem is that she thinks she's a dysfunctional person, and I think that's really common in middle school. Because you just don't fit into anything.
Right.
And you think there's a problem with you. And it's like, no, the problem is with the world. Everything, especially your world at that point. But yeah, you're right. The idea of her kind of claiming her own identity without changing her identity, I think is the big transformation in this story. And that is a great couple of scenes where it comes across. Because the cool people in this movie are mean.
Like, I hate them.
They're the mean people, and it just kind of shows like, these people who are the coolest kids in school are kind of the worst kids in school.
At that end scene,
and that's not always the case.
Right,
but like within this this world, they are showing you these are the people you're trying to measure yourself up to a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the people you should just write off and leave alone.
Right. At the end there, I kind of wanted her to like be more mean to Kennedy, like call her a bitch or something because of how she's treated you. But then I was like, no, she's better than that. Like
exactly, it's a high road kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, cool.
I also like that the dad, he's stumbling a lot, but like especially in that scene where they burn the time capsule,
Mm-hmm.
like it's one of those moments where they could have easily been like, oh, he has the perfect words to say to comfort, but like he takes a while to get there. Like he doesn't know how to address the situation.
Yeah. The uncertainty of it when she goes, "Will you help me burn something?" And he goes, "Yes." Like that is, first of all, like the best line in this movie. But yeah, he's kind of dancing. He's trying not to pry.
Right.
For one. And he's also like, I hope whatever this is a positive thing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And it really kind of shows him respecting her. This is after the mall, after following her at the mall. Mm-hmm. And he's really trying to respect her boundaries. But he's still concerned. And
I mean, how concerned would you be if your daughter came home, trashed her room?
Oh yeah, no,
in a fit of
100%. And you know,
it's
kids
scary.
Come home really upset all the time, and a lot of times what kids are upset about is nothing, and you have to kind of talk them down. But like, this is something she's hanging out with older kids, and then and then wanting to burn things in the backyard. It is just sort of like I think that's a great symbolic thing that the character did, and also that the movie did, where she's letting go of a lot of the baggage she's carried through middle school.
Right. And I think it kind of was a negative thing. She
You think it was a negative thing?
I think it started out that way. I think she wanted to get rid of I don't even want to remember me in the first weeks of middle school.
Yeah.
And then her dad kind of turned it into a positive thing and made her let go.
Yeah. I hadn't even really considered that it had started that way. I thought she was...
I don't think she had the best intentions doing
it. Yeah, maybe not. There's... Where she kind of winces at, it's like the coolest girl in the world is on the lid.
Uh-huh.
And then
she's cringing at herself.
At the end, she writes that on her new time capsule. She's like, no. This is hopeful to hope that she's going to be the coolest girl in the world.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
That was the same.
She writes the same thing on her new one and makes another video. She knows she may cringe at it, but like we said, this isn't about expectation anymore. It's about just hoping that whatever happens, I hope the best for you. So
right.
Yeah, it's a super positive turn at the end. And I think the fire is kind of what kind of seals it. Mm-hmm. She accepts, I am still a kid. Gabe is the best fit for me right now.
Right.
He's a nerdy kid who likes cartoons and McDonald's food. Mm-hmm. Like
he's kind of like the antithesis of her in the way that he has almost no social anxiety or even awareness. Like
no, he's just completely unaware of what he's supposed to be.
And that's great. That's what she needed.
At the pool party when everybody is acting cool and, he's got the goggles on. He's like, I swam all the way across the pool. Like, he's still
not the voice.
He's very much a little kid still.
Right. Let me do a handstand.
Yeah, I think Gabe's great. Just because at the end, it's like, yes, she accepts that Gabe is her good friend now. And
that is kind of how middle schoolers should act.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like we said, depending on the maturity level. Right. And she's sort of accepting, instead of where I think I'm supposed to be, this is where I am. and it's on par with Gabe.
There's this thing with teenagers, which, like, it makes sense, but it's like judging people who aren't as mature as you. It's this whole thing of like, I'm in 8th grade, I'm gonna make fun of 6th graders.
Right.
I'm a senior, I'm gonna make fun of freshmen. And like even like bullying people who are like Gabe, it's because you want to be more mature. You're like, oh, you should be at my level.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's just a lot of awareness on the other end of that, of, you know, like Gabe's unaware, but like when she gives a game to Kennedy at her party, like she's getting nice clothes and things from all her other friends, and she gives her a card game, and it's like at that stage when you're in 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you know, you want to pretend you're too mature for a card game. Right. I don't play games. Those are for babies. Those are for, you know, like, and, you know, she's still at this place where, like, no, I'm not going to deny how fun a game is and give it. And then she becomes very aware of, like, oh, this isn't a kid's party anymore.
Right.
And,
there's nothing wrong with it. And she didn't think there was anything wrong with it until she saw other people,
starts seeing it. Yeah.
Till you compare yourself, or they compare you, or
yes, that's the terrible thing about parties is the opening of gifts, and then it becomes a contest, and
here's a gift card.
it's really strange.
Yeah.
Also, how bad did Kennedy's mom want to hook up with Kayla's dad?
So bad.
And I get a feeling like Kayla's dad also completely unaware that he's like probably like the hot school dad.
He's the DILF.
He's the single dad at the school.
That's gonna be 12th grade. The sequel
is that be it? Kennedy and Kayla are stepsisters. Yeah. Like, having to learn how to live in the same house. It's so weird.
Hire me, Bo Burnham. Or don't, because that would probably not be as good of a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bo Burnham's got it.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
I did want to mention the music in this movie. Because this movie isn't just written and directed by Bo Burnham.
Super Bo Burnham-y.
Yep. It is, but I think it works.
It works in the context of the movie. I wouldn't want to listen to a soundtrack album of this.
Me neither.
But it is what movie music is supposed to do, is match the scene. Like whatever Aiden's theme music is whenever he walks it.
It's so funny.
It's so hilarious.
His close-up of the eyes. Because that is what's going...
No matter what he's doing.
That's what's going on in a middle schooler's head when they see their crush.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's an Enya song in here too that also fits. Enya probably could have scored a lot of this movie.
Who?
But Enya, she was this I think Irish new age synth pop singer in the 90s.
Okay.
I'll play some for you later.
All right. I don't remember a song being in here. That's why I'm like confused.
It sounds like a Bo Burnham song a little bit, like, but a little more like low key, softer edges to it. But yeah.
And this time I also noticed there's like a jingle that plays every time one of her videos starts.
Oh yeah, there's
every
a little
time the
sound.
Voiceover,
yeah.
There's like, it sounds sort of like a camera turning on, but it's definitely
a little chimey, kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Also, active shooter drills, they'll never not be disturbing to see. But, you know, that's
it's not like that at my work.
That's the world we live in. So,
yeah.
We want to thank the volunteers from the drama department.
The one talking to her with red on her face.
It's so disturbing.
Back to normal.
It's a nice little political commentary without being heavy-handed about it. But that's 8th grade. Big recommend. Obviously, I think from both of us.
Yeah.
We're big fans of this movie. And I can't wait to see Bo Burnham brings us next.
I don't know if he's working on anything right now. Maybe I'll have to check to see if he's said anything publicly.
Well,
I'm sure he's doing something.
I'm sure at a certain point, yeah, whatever next. Or Elsie Fisher. I'd like to see what she does next.
Both of them.
Let's move on to shout-outs.
All right.
What do you got this week?
I have a book this week.
Okay.
It's called The Forest Unseen, A Year's Watch in Nature. And it's written by David George Haskell, I believe is how you pronounce that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I got this sort of like, I looked up, because I'm trying to get into botany and like more the scientific aspect of it.
Right.
Because I enjoy growing plants and stuff. And I was looking at biology books, just kind of like what are the best ones. And this is one that kept coming up. So I ordered it. This was like a few months ago. I'm not even done with the book. I'm like halfway through because I read very slowly.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a really interesting thing. This guy, he picked a spot that was a few feet long in a forest near his house. And he just went there pretty much every day for a year and observed the changes in this one very specific area. Yeah. And the way he writes it is so poetic and beautiful. And he relates it to like bigger scientific concepts. Like he'll write a whole chapter on like, oh, I inspected the leaves in my area and found that a deer had made these bite marks. And then he goes into how does a deer eat a branch?
Okay.
And it's got these this like microbe in a second stomach that dissolves it. And he'll go into like the nitty gritty of that. But it's always like it's explained in such a simple and poetic way.
Right.
Without like all of the super specific jargon. And it's connected to like these real world experiences that he's seeing.
Interesting.
And it won like the Nature Outdoors Writing Prize in 2012.
Okay.
I didn't know that was a thing, but it won an award.
New to me.
So yeah, I think it's really cool and everyone should check it out.
All right.
Yeah. What do you have?
I'm going to pull an audible in order to match your shout out. And I'm going to also shout out a book about nature. It's called A Walk in the Woods, Rediscovering... I'm sorry.
Rediscovering I'm Sorry?
Rediscovering I'm Sorry. It's called A Walk in the Woods, Rediscovering America on the Appalachian Trail by Bill Bryson. And it is about a guy, a journalist, who decided to take, I think he took about a year and walked the Appalachian Trail. And took an old friend with him and just sort of, he's a little more comedic. It's not a scientific book, but it's just his experiences walking the trail and what it was all about for him, and sort of, what started out as a kind of a curiosity, and he kind of becomes more and more accustomed to walking the Appalachian Trail. I would love to walk at least part of the Appalachian Trail.
That's a big thing to take on.
Yeah, and he doesn't, at a certain point he breaks off, he comes back home, and then he goes back to...
it's not one continuous...
No, a lot of people hike the trail in sections, and I think if I ever do that, not a lot of people can take a year off of their job and their life and go live on it in the woods, but
I wish.
I wish too. It'd be really nice. Yeah. But it's a really interesting book for me because I have some interest in doing that. I enjoy just day hiking and stuff now. Mm-hmm. But it is, just sort of like in the spirit of, I haven't read the book, but I saw the movie Wild about the Pacific Coast Trail and the woman who hiked that. And it's very similar in that it's almost fish out of water learning to adapt to living in the woods and what's that sound, and it's really almost nothing, but everything sounds very loud out there. And it's a really a kind of a funny take of like, oh, I don't really belong out here, but here I am. And
that's cool.
It is cool. It's a fun book, and I don't know. You started talking about yours, and I was like, oh, well, here's a book on my shelf.
I'm changing mine.
When you're done with yours, let's swap books, because I'm really interested in reading that.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to read a book about a year in nature, you've got
we got
choices.
2 of them right here. Yes,
yeah.
Please check them out and let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I'm going to say thank you for listening to this episode of The Picture Show with Austin and Phil Rood. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. It really helps our visibility and helps others find the show.
That's right. Another way to help us grow is to tell a friend. Or, alternatively, film a bunch of YouTube videos of you raving about our amazing podcast.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, even if you don't have that many viewers.
Or just direct them to our YouTube channels.
Yes, yeah, you can do that.
That works too.
My movie next week.
That's right. What did you pick?
We are going to watch the big screen adaptation of the beloved children's book, Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. I saw this movie when it came out in theaters, have not seen it since. It's strange, is all I remember, and I have been in the mood for something strange, so we're going to take a look at it.
All right. I just remember it being very different.
Yes.
Than
Yep.
What it's adapting.
I make no promises as to quality, because this could be good, bad, or indifferent. I've only seen it the one time, but
yeah,
I've been curious to check it out again, and I thought this would be a good place to pick it apart.
All right. Sure, let's go for it.
All right.
Yeah, well, it's not a negotiation. We're watching.
Hey, we have veto power here.
Right.
What's your social media? Throw it out there.
Austin and Rood, austin.n.rood. TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.
Perfect.
What about you?
I am philrood.com, at philrood on Twitter, at philrood75 on Instagram.
All right, that's how you find us.
That's it. Austin, you want to read the credits?
Yep, we did everything ourselves.
There you have it. We'll see you next time on The Picture Show.
Gucci.
Gucci!